All right, folks, we've got a very special occasion for you guys. This is a long time in the making. I've finally finished all of my weapon videos, so it's time to do a live tier list of all the weapons in Elden Ring. We have 23 weapons. This is probably going to take a while, so I'm going to redo this. I was thinking about redoing it in TikTok form and maybe only doing like 2 or 3 weapon classes at a time. So this is going to be a very long video. It's going to be very drawn out, and it's going to be my live reactions where I actually go through, this is my first thoughts on these specific weapons. So without further ado, enough raiding around. We're going to tab over. I've added some new tabs to our computer so we can mess around a little bit. And let's just get started. Let's do some serious work right now. I think I can zoom this in maybe. Let's see. No, I can't zoom it in. So that's all you guys get. I'm sure there's a way to zoom it in, but we'll figure it out later. Anyway, let's get started. Is this what I'm looking for? Yeah, that is what I'm looking for. There we go. Okay, so we zoomed it in a little bit. I'm going to start at the bottom of the list. So I'm just going to go from bottom to top because it's easier for me to like pick weapons out of this category and say we'll start with the most basic one, the most obvious one for me. I would consider this to probably be the worst weapon class in the game, although maybe I think it's hard to compete. I'd say hammers and flails are pretty even for being the bottom of the tier list, but I think here's what I'll say. I've seen some PvP players who are really good with claws, but I do think that when you use them in a general sense and you're trying to use them against a wide variety of opponents, you're going to run into a lot of problems. It's just too short of a range. Obviously you have Bloodhound's Step on the Bloodhound's Claws. So I'm going to put Claws at the very bottom. Number 23 is Claws. We can tab over and I'll show you the weapons that I use. This is a Bloodhound's Claws. It's the only claws that I use. Obviously it has Bloodhound's Step on it and I've infused it with blood. So, you are going to attack really fast, and I don't think I can show you the attacks. I don't think I have enough time. Although I might as well show off some of the attacks that I like, at least for a few of them. So I think definitely for the claws, the jumping attack is something you're going to favor. The rolling attack is really nice. I don't remember what the running attack is. Yeah, so I would say that if you're using claws, you're probably going to favor the jumping attack and the running attack. But I definitely think that the Bloodhound Step is just super nice. Okay, so that's claws for you. Let's tab back over. Yeah, we might not do it for all of them. I might just go through the weapons. So we'll see. This is a live reaction, so we're going through it as we go through it. I think the next weapon I'm going to put on here is... let's see. What are we looking at? I think most of these weapons, especially up near the top, a lot of these weapons are really nice. I might actually put daggers over there too. It really sucks. It hurts a lot for me to put daggers and claws this far down on the list, but at least for the way that I play the game, it just their range is just too short. You run into a lot of dangerous situations where you're trying to get in close enough to attack an opponent, but getting in close takes so much time. Closing the distance between you and the enemy takes so much time that it's just brutal. So we'll tab over. I'll show you the weapons that I use. In the right hand, you've got the Black Knife. In the left hand, we've got Reduvia. I love the Black Knife, one of my favorite weapon arts. I just think you can't just spam the weapon art. That's not how you play these weapons. You got to actually use the normal attacks. But the Black Knife is gonna do Rune of Death damage, so it's gonna have that HP drain, and it's also gonna have that max HP loss. So it's really, really practical as a debuff for an opponent. So you can, you hit them with one of the attacks. I guess I could show it off once. This is the special one. So you launch up in the air. You launch this, this black flame or this Rune of Death attack, and it's really useful for, I was mentioning when you're using daggers, you have to be really, really close for it to be effective. But really, the Black Knife is kind of the counter to that, because it says oh, now you have a long-ranged attack. So your method to using this weapon is more you use the long-ranged weapon art for when you're at a safe distance, right? And then if the enemy approaches you, then that's your opportunity to start using the normal attacks, and that's when like the Reduvia is going to build up blood loss so fast, and like it's really good at like just all aroundness. But I still think I'm a sucker for range. I need a lot of range on my weapons. Otherwise, I just do terribly. I'm missing every attack, and I'm just feeling like an idiot. So that's daggers. That's number 22. I definitely think. I think maybe we'll put flails and hammers next to each other, and then we'll put fists above that. I just think flails are kind of boring. What you have the Knight Rider flail. That's gonna give you bleed build up, and then you're also gonna have to use the bastard stars. So if we look over here. So we got bastard stars in one hand, and then the Knight Rider flail is just going to give you like a decent amount of blood loss. I just think like the bastard stars is really hard to use. I've gotten better at it over time. I definitely think that this weapon art it has such a long wind up that you're going to get yourself into trouble in a lot of situations, like trying to use the weapon art a lot. So I just think it's a risky weapon. I will say. For the flails and the hammers, these weapons are definitely imp killers. That's what I would say. Like any opponent that is weak to strike damage, like obviously these weapons are going to be super effective against them, but like I think of it more as like these weapons are kind of trash and they're hard to use, so I try to use them on trash mobs and use them on the little imps that are just pitiful and easy to one-shot, and so it's kind of satisfying to just do the jumping double attack and just kill them in one hit. It's kind of satisfying. In a similar vein, we can tab over. In a similar vein, we've got hammers. I think regular hammers, once again, they're really cool. There's a lot of really cool hammers in this game. Well, there's only two that I really like. Hammers, number 20. There you go. We're getting to the top of the C tier class. Like I think we might put fists at the top of C tier, and then we might be good from there. So hammers, number 20. If we look at the weapons, we've got Marika's hammer and we've got the ringed finger. Both of these weapon arts are just comical, but the problem is they're super slow. So here's what I like. I love the amount of hyper armor that you get for these weapon arts. Like, as long as something isn't pancaking you or like launching you into the air, you're probably going to be able to poise through an attack and like trade with an opponent. But like realistically, it's not really beneficial. Once you get into these higher new game cycles, it's not really beneficial for you to like trade with opponents, because if they land 3 hits on you, you're dead. So like for a lot of these weapons, I think especially Marika's hammer with the gold breaker weapon art, where you kind of lift yourself into the air, it just takes so long. And like also the ringed finger, like it has like a charge up where it like grows. It just takes so long that like it's really, really hard to land a good strike, to land something that will just like obliterate everything. And I think the ringed finger is really good because if you can land the hit, then you're gonna knock them back. I think it's like a max stagger, like it'll give you the maximum stagger possible. I think usually for most enemies it'll like launch them, like knock them really far away, and then that gives you an opportunity to then follow up with a jumping attack. So it's like you have this combo of like knocking an enemy really far away so that you get some safe distance, and then also when they're on the ground, that gives you a perfect opportunity to get a second strike and to get a follow-up attack. And that's like, I think a lot of these weapons are really good about, you're only able to get like 1 or 2 hits in, especially with these slower weapons. You're only really going to get a couple hits in. So you got to make those hits count. And that's where like we get into like colossal weapons, and it's just fun. I love strike weapons. They're very good against imps, like I said. They're very good against stone enemies. They're really good against falling star beasts. So that's a good opportunity for you. I fucking hate falling star beasts. They are like way too difficult for how often you fight them. Like there's a lot of falling star beasts in this game, and I am not good at fighting them. And using weapons like this really helps me a lot in that situation. And as you can see, I'm kind of adjusting my mic up and down, and I'm checking the audio level. So, you know, I hope it sounds okay. I'm probably clipping the mic a little bit, but, you know, here's hoping. Okay, moving on. We're at number 19. What do we got? Yeah, a lot of these weapons are like really, really strong. So I'm going to put fists at number 19. And this is going to be the last part of C tier, I think. Because I think the next, yeah, like all of these weapons are so, yeah, we'll put axes at the next. So like this is the end of C tier. Okay, so that's C tier. So I'm a little embarrassed, but I completely forgot to talk about fists. Fists are very similar to claws, where the jump attack is your best bet and you don't really have a lot of range with your attacks. The thing that I love about fists and the reason that they're so high in C tier is because of the weapon arts. So in the left hand, we've got the grafted dragon, which comes from Godric, and in the right hand, we have the veteran's prosthesis. And I just want to show off these weapon arts. So the first one is Bear Witness. This is the dragon weapon art. The secret for this one is really just smacking someone in the face with it, because that initial explosion right there is going to deal way more damage than the little rocks that it drops. So that's the best way to do it. And then if I want to do the other weapon, I got to two-hand it. But this is Storm Kick. So it's two parts. The first part is a wind attack, and the second part is a lightning attack. Obviously, it's a lot easier to land the lightning attack than it is the wind attack, but if you can land both of them, they both deal really heavy stagger damage, so you're going to be like knocking enemies back, and just you're going to be pretty decent. So that's, if you like claws and you would prefer something that's heavier and has more stagger potential, then fists are for you, because the fists will actually compete pretty well, honestly. So there you go. So C tier is 5 weapons. So it's pretty good, honestly. Like there really aren't a lot of weapons that are that take a lot of effort to use. I think it's like, it's not that the weapon is bad, it's that it doesn't have a lot of general use. You know, we think about claws and fists and daggers, and like they're really short range, and like if you're good at that, if you love, you know, being up close and personal, then go for it. Like this is your weapon. But what I've found is this game is a lot more about spacing, and it's a lot more about not necessarily dodging around enemies, but more dodging away and then jumping back into the fight. And so like when you have weapons with such a short range, or you have weapons like the hammers or the flails, where the weapon art is slow, or the weapon doesn't necessarily have a lot of DPS going on, you know, like I have bad memories of using flails and hammers against like Morgott especially. And like Morgott is weak to slash damage, so obviously a flail and a hammer is a bad choice for Morgott, but like you're going to get blood loss. You know, you on both of those classes, your secondary weapon has blood loss buildup, and it's over 100 blood loss. So like as long as you're attacking pretty often, you're going to be proccing bleed. And so, you know, it's not like you're going to do terribly, but I think you run into this situation where if you're fighting a stone enemy, chances are they don't bleed. Like if you're fighting a falling star beast, chances are, and I'm pretty sure this is correct, that he's just immune to bleed. He's just never going to bleed. And so then using these weapons on an opponent that it does bleed, you're automatically less effective, because if an enemy bleeds, then it's more likely that they're weak to either slash damage or standard damage. I think like strike damage and pierce damage are very specific. They have a much more specialized use case. Like spears are going to be really good. Any of those pierce weapons are going to be really good against bell-bearing hunters and ancient stone dragons. Anything that has really thick armor. Yeah, that's a secret. I want to tell you that. If you struggle with Elamir of the Briar or any of the ball-bearing hunters, he has heavy armor, so he's actually weak to pierce damage. So if you use like a rapier or like a thrusting sword is another name for it, or use heavy thrusting swords. Anyway, we're getting distracted. What I'm trying to say is they are useful. These hammers and flails are useful in some situations, but I find a lot of problems, and I find that they're specialized in a way that doesn't really benefit me. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to put axes at the bottom of B tier. And I'm going to put great axes right above that. And, let's look at this. I might honestly put whips somewhere nearby here too. I think, yeah, we'll put axes and great axes at the bottom. Oh God, no, we can't, because I gotta explain something to you guys. All of these weapons are incredible. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. Control X. I'm gonna put great hammers at the bottom. So great hammers are the bottom of B tier. Same with great axes. So let's talk about those two weapon classes real quick. Let's see if we can have a little bit of a discussion. So great hammers, the weapon that I tend to favor. Oh no, I always do this. I shouldn't be doing. Okay, the weapon that I always favor is the Beast Claw Great Hammer. The weapon art for this is pretty nice. It's kind of like a long range attack, so it spreads. So it kind of spreads in a cone and it goes for a long distance. So it's going to be really good about handling groups and all that kind of stuff. And then obviously we got the great stars in the left hand. This guy is going to give us a little bit of health whenever we hit somebody, but it's basically meaningless. I think like I would put great hammers and great axes at the bottom because their moveset is really slow. Like when you use great, I guess I could show you an example just as quick as I can. So yeah, if we use great axes, the moveset is the same between great hammers and great axes, so they're functionally identical in a lot of ways. So here we've got great axes. This is the Omen Killer, and I've put Lion's Claw on it. I think honestly, great axes is only a little bit better than great hammers because of Lion's Claw, because Lion's Claw can actually pancake enemies, so it'll flatten enemies, and then because they're flattened, you get an opportunity to follow up with a jumping double slam. So you see how a lot of these slow weapons, you're going to get a lot of benefit from staggering opponents really heavily and then following up with another really strong attack. But if we use the normal attacks, you can see just how slow and plodding it is. Like, the attacks just take forever. Even this attack kind of takes a long time. So, you run into a lot of problems where you're trying to land multiple hits, but you're not going to be able to. At most, you're going to land a weapon art, and then you're going to be able to follow it up with a jumping double slam, and hopefully you land those hits. So it's like, I don't really like these weapons because they're very limited in how you play them. There's not a lot of variety in terms of the attacks that you use and the different strategies that you can use. You're basically caught into this loop of can I stagger the opponent or am I screwed? If you're fighting a Crucible Knight, maybe you'll be able to stagger them with Lion's Claw, but I think especially with slow weapons, if an enemy doesn't get staggered or if an enemy is just powering through your attacks, then these guys are going to suffer a lot. And so that's kind of what I would say about these two weapon classes, is that they're very similar in that it's risky. That's the main takeaway, is that they are risky as hell. And we're gonna find similar things with the colossal weapons, but I'm thinking I'm gonna put the colossal weapons higher up on the list, maybe in A tier, maybe. Up next we've got axes. Axes are wonderful. I'm gonna put whips above that too. I know some people are whip fanatics. They love the whips. And they love it for one specific reason. The only people that use whips, they only do one build. They use double Hoslow's pedal whips, which are Juno Hoslow's weapon, or Diavolo's. Anyway, we're getting distracted. So you use Hoslow's pedal whip, you put bleed on it, and then you only do the jumping attack. And I'm pretty sure the jumping attack bypasses shields. I'm not positive, but I have this weird feeling inside my head that whips can actually bypass shields, but I don't know how accurate that is. So we got axes and we got whips, so these weapons are very, very interesting to me. I guess we'll start with whips down at the bottom. So we'll tab over once again. I mean, this is already a 20-minute long video and we're not even halfway through, so if you're sticking around, I really appreciate it. That's all I can say. I would also like to mention, if you're coming to this video from TikTok and you saw, your I appreciate your viewership. I'm phrasing this very poorly, but I appreciate everybody who's been watching my TikToks and supporting me, and that's very, very nice to see, and it makes me very happy to see, and it warms my heart. So we've got whips. This is the magma whip candlestick. It's kind of annoying to get, and also as I've started to use this weapon, I've realized that it's not really as good at staggering as I once thought. Like, you're only going to stagger enemies that would already be weak to stagger. So like in the end, the only thing that this weapon art is going to get you is you're just going to get hit. Like, if you're just holding this down and running or walking towards an enemy, you're just going to get hit. Like, you're not going to be able to stagger them in most cases. Like, very rarely you might stagger them, but I think that's not necessarily something that you should expect. Like, okay, this is something that I'm glad that I mentioned this, because I have this idea in my head. I think the biggest danger you can get into is anticipating your damage output. And that's a little bit of a confusing way to express it, but if you go into a fight thinking that you're going to stagger the opponent, guess what happens when you don't stagger them? You panic. Like, that's what happens to me, is I'm like, oh, I bet this attack can stagger them. I bet I can stagger this boss. And then I don't, and then I get obliterated, and I die, and then I get revived, and it's like, oh shit, that was an embarrassing move right there. So, but really, where the whips shine is the jumping attack. It's just fast as hell, and I think a lot of the other moves. Yeah, okay, so here we go. So the jumping attack and the running attack are just going to be like lightning fast, and they're going to be really strong, and like I said, they might bypass shields, they might not, so you got to test that for yourself. But yeah, like, I think whips are one of those guys where the DPS does not keep up. I think like the combos are not really beneficial to dealing a lot of DPS. I think if you can deal a lot of DPS with the whips, I'm going to take a wild guess and say you're using bleed on it. Anyway. So the next thing I want to talk about is the axes. We'll go up to the top. I don't really need to show you the moveset. All I want to show you is Rosas's axe. I might honestly put axes above whips. It's kind of crazy, right? But I'll explain it in a second. I'll explain why I love axes so much. And like, as I'm in New Game +4 right now, so that's technically Journey 5. But what I discovered the secret of... It's not a secret. Let's just watch and learn. So this is Rosas's summons. You summon 3 skeletons. And there's something that hopefully is obvious to you. Even if you get hit during this attack, like say you're in this charge up phase, the skeletons will always trigger. Like, the skeletons trigger so early in the animation that even if you get launched backward, like, my favorite thing is to use this against the tree sentinels, okay? Because the tree sentinels, they move a lot. But like, literally what I do is I just stand still. I wait for the tree sentinel to run towards me. And then when I activate Rosas's summons, those skeletons are just going to hit him. Even if I get hit by his attack, the skeletons are almost guaranteed to hit. So if you're fighting a big opponent, if you're fighting like a horseman, like if you're fighting Knight's Cavalry or Tree Sentinel, I love using Rosas's summons because you can just spam the weapon art all day long. You can just use it over and over. And even if you only land half of the weapon arts, each of those skeletons deals the same amount of damage as your axe. It scales with your axe. So like, when you hit somebody with it, you're dealing triple axe damage. And so it's like, it's comical. Like, if you can land 2 of those skeleton hits, you are home free. You're going to be staggering those tree sentinels like nobody's business. And I think people are sleeping on Rosas's axe. Like, honestly, the axe class is one of the most underrated classes. But I think it's also very specialized. And that's one of the problems that you get into is the axes are best used against, like, big opponents. Like, anything that's wide and takes up a big area, those skeletons are almost guaranteed to, like, just obliterate them. And so it's just so satisfying to use this guy. And I hope you guys are learning some good stuff. I've spent a long time using all these weapons, and that was I did it in Dark Souls 3 using the Cinders mod. Like, I basically got one of every weapon class just so I could play with it. And Elden Ring is like the it's perfection of Dark Souls. They've perfected the Dark Souls mechanics and the Dark Souls formula. And what that meant for me is, you know what that means? I have to get every weapon because I know that I could realistically play this game forever. Like, it's designed in such a way where I can choose my path and I can replay that path as many times as I want. And I know it's like people are hearing this and they're like, what the fuck? This guy's going to be playing Elden Ring for the rest of his life? And it's like, yeah, dude, this game is fun. This game is really, really fun. It's just when you understand the mechanics, when you know how to buff yourself, when you know how to be strong, it's so much fun to just like play, to just do shit that you've already done because you can do it in a different way. You can use a different weapon class. You can use a different play style. And so it's like, it's just so satisfying for me to like be able to have all these, somewhat new experiences. It's like a fresh game every time. And, like I would say that each of my saves is like, every time I beat a new game cycle, it's like about 30 hours. I would say like 20 to 30 hours. So it's pretty long. But like in 20 hours, you've already forgotten what you did at the beginning in Limgrave. Like, and I have this method for how I play. But anyway, I'm getting distracted. I'm so bad about this. We've got to continue on. Let's keep going. So what else do we have? I'm gonna keep greatswords towards the top. All these weapons are so good. I'm gonna put halberds next, which seems crazy. It seems a little crazy. I could put curved swords up there too. Here we go. This is what I'll do. Halberds goes right here. But I love halberds. But I also love curved swords. No, okay, here we go. This is what we're going to do. Halberds is number 13. Curved swords is number 14. Yeah, we'll do it 2 at a time. So we're getting close to A tier. I think maybe like 12 through 6 is A tier, and then the top 5 will all be S tier. So I think that's what we'll do. So we'll make this guy is the end of B tier. How many weapons is this? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, cool. So we do 6 and 6. What is this, 5? Okay, so we got a good plan. So this is B class. This is B tier. Okay, so there's B tier for you. That actually makes a lot of sense, Halberds are at the top of B tier, but, I think halberds could easily be A tier, but, you have to pick. You have to make those decisions. So let's talk about curved swords. Okay, let's see. I love curved swords. I just think you run into a similar problem where their range is really... I need to put thrusting swords over here, too. I don't like rapiers. What am I doing? Shit. Here's what we'll do. We're going to take out halberds. We're going to put this to number 12. We're going to bump curved swords up by 1. We're going to bump axes up. And then I think I'm going to put thrusting swords right here in number 15. So these are rapiers. So we got to go back and do that. So we'll do rapiers and curved swords. We'll talk about those 2 weapon classes. Let's see, what do we got? Rapiers. Okay, so my strategy for rapiers is obviously Bloodhound Step. I actually literally just used these rapiers to kill Elamir of the Briar, and he was like so easy because he's weak to thrust damage, and I bled the fuck out of him, dude. So here's the plan. We've got an Antspur rapier. It deals Scarlet Rot damage, and then I put blood on it, so it also is going to stack bleed like crazy, and we've doubled it up, so we have 2 of them. I've put Bloodhound Step. I'm sure I already mentioned that. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of rapiers, mainly because they don't have a lot of really heavy hitting moves, which makes a lot of sense because they're not a really heavy weapon. And it doesn't fit my playstyle very well. I think some of you might realize that there's a reason that I put daggers and claws at the bottom, and I'm surprised that I put thrusting swords this high, because I'm really bad with any weapon that forces you to stay in close and actually dodge around opponents. Like, here's what I'll say. There's a lot of TikTokers that make annoying comments, but if you can dodge around an opponent and actually like stay close to them and not get hit, like that's really impressive. Really, really impressive. Especially like This game is crazy about just being like, no, you got to back off or else you're going to get obliterated. And so like definitely Bloodhound Step will benefit that. Like you can use this. I've said it before. Bloodhound Step makes the whole game easy mode. Like dodging becomes pointless. Like you can dodge almost anything with Bloodhound Step, and like there's a reason that in PvP everyone uses Bloodhound Step, because if you don't, like you're just gonna get shafted. And so like especially using it on a really fast weapon like this, you're gonna end up being way more mobile than your opponent, and so you're just gonna win in most cases. I think PvP may be completely different because obviously everyone uses Bloodhound Step, so you're not really that special. But when you're playing PvE, Bloodhound Step is like a lifesaver. It's like so OP, like not in a bad way, but like it makes the game completely different than how you normally play it, and I think that's kind of cool. And it's also something that I'm really bad at, which I'm sure you guys have realized over a short period of time. Okay, we've been going for half an hour. We're about halfway done, so let's try and power through this. We'll talk about curved swords real quick. I've got the Scavenger's blood-infused curved sword in the left hand. I like the Magma Blade because of the weapon art. It also deals a lot of damage. Here's what I'll say. You have to really be in close, and it's very like curved swords are very similar to thrusting swords in that, oh my god, you have to be so close. You have to be spamming constantly, just attacking all the time. I just realized that I never showed the screen, so I'm gonna have to go back and show you the thrusting swords. You got the picture. I kind of embarrassed myself, so we'll go back. I'll show off the rapiers a little bit. That's my bad. So we got curved swords right here. As you can see, super spam. You got to just spam constantly. But if you're using the weapon art, once again, it's pretty effective. It does a lot of damage. It should stagger a lot of opponents. So, if you want to spam the weapon art, I think you'll actually succeed pretty well. And then the last thing to mention is that curved swords have a 4-hit jump attack, which is similar to the Twin Blades jump attack. And that's the same hit for the running attack. So, like, basically what you realize is if you do this running attack, you're going to proc bleed, like, almost instantly. Like, you're basically going to proc bleed off of one hit. And so, like, if you want to use 2 of the Scavenger's curved sword and double your blood output, then, like, you're going to be bleeding people like crazy. And so it becomes very useful in that situation. I've definitely seen a lot of PvP players who love using Bloodhound, or PvP players who love using two of these Scavenger's curved swords and just bleeding people in one hit, and it's comical, folks. Okay, so we'll go back. I'll just show off how I play rapiers. It's not really super specific. So yeah, like I said before, we've got Bloodhound Step. I also put Seppuku, so we're just powering up the bleed status. And as you can see, the rolling attack is pretty nice, but really the best aspect is that you can kind of transition between attacks super fast. So like thrusting swords are kind of nice because the attack animations are so fast. Like they're so fast that you finish attacking almost as soon as you start attacking. Like the animations are super, super quick. So you're going to get a lot of benefit out of, getting a couple hits in, using Bloodhound Step to get some distance or, protect yourself, however you want to phrase it. And then you just go back in. And so you get in this flow state of like moving in and out of danger and moving around opponents and being really good about reading the opponent's moves and dodging into that move, because when you have Bloodhound Step, you can just move so far that you can move behind them if they do an attack. If they do an arcing attack, if you move in that direction, then you're going to end up basically behind them. And so that's just like so useful. So I've definitely found some better use out of thrusting swords than I have with claws or daggers or any of that kind of stuff. So yeah. Next up, we've got halberds. God, do I love halberds. I've had a halberd renaissance. At first I was using Loretta's slash. I was using Loretta's war sickle because it has a unique light attack. But I came to realize that I should just be using this weapon art called Phantom Slash, and I just want to show it to you guys. So I always use Golden Halberd in the left hand because it deals like 933 damage. Like, are you kidding me? It's comical. Okay, here we go. Phantom Slash. This is the sole reason that I love halberds. Just watch this weapon art. So you're gonna have this Phantom Knight that's gonna charge forward. He's gonna do like this teleport attack where he like rushes the opponent. If you're using it on a fast opponent that's moving around a lot, you might not land it. But if the opponent is really slow, then you're gonna land all of these hits. And I think this is definitely one of those weapon arts where you're gonna have to trade with opponents. But really, just use the first attack. Just use the first move, and then see that Phantom guy is almost guaranteed to hit, and then he does a lot of damage. So if you follow it up, you might stagger an opponent. Like you actually deal pretty decent damage just with the first attack, and then obviously the second attack is going to be a lot more risky because you're at that point you're right in front of the opponent, and so if you want to use that second attack, you're probably going to get hit. But that Phantom, similar to Rosas' summons, the Phantom is still going to exist. So even if you get hit during this weapon art, watch this, even if you get hit, your Phantom will still attack. So you might get knocked out of the secondary attack, but your Phantom is still good. And so that you kind of get this idea of you just spam the fuck out of the Phantom Slash, and that's the only move that you use because it's so effective. Oh, okay. So we are in A tier right now. Let's tab over. Let's keep going. What's next? So we're up in A tier. 35 minutes. Still a goddamn long video. I did not want it to be this long, but that's what you get, folks. I don't make short videos. These videos are never short. Okay. Enough messing around. I'm going to put Great Spears at number 11. Let's see. We're getting close to the top. We're actually getting very close to the top. I bet people are going to be pissed off that I put whips in B tier, but like I think it deserves to be in B tier because there are some other weapons that will just shred, dude. They'll just shred. Even curved swords being in B tier is kind of hilarious to me. And this is the thing. I don't play PvP. I want you to know that I don't play PvP ever. I avoid it like the plague. And a lot of these weapons are going to play way differently in PvP than they will in PvE. But that's why I'm talking about PvE, because I think it's easier to use every weapon class in PvE. I think if you want to use every weapon class in PvP, you're probably going to lose a lot. You're probably going to lose many times. Okay, let's see. So 12 to 6 is going to be A tier. So this is basically most of the weapons, okay? I'm going to put spears there too. So now we get into the intricacies where I actually have to pick the weapons a little more cautiously. So we've got great spears and spears. I could talk about that, and then maybe I'll think about where these other weapons will go. I think I might put colossal weapons right here. Now remember, colossal weapons are different from colossal swords, so keep that in mind. That's going to become important, or, mildly important later on. Oh, and I'm just burping like crazy. Sorry, folks. Okay, so I think that's good. Here, let's move scythes up to the top. So what do we got? I think let's talk about these three guys. So I probably could have made this shorter, and I could make a second video where I just go through the whole tier list, but I think that's why I would do it as a TikTok. I've found a lot of benefit from, making videos in starkly different formats. So like when I make TikToks, obviously it's only a minute long, and those videos are completely different than this video, which is just kind of a live reaction. And hey, if you're watching this and you made it this far, like, we've still got a lot to go, so I appreciate you. That's all I can say. Okay, let's talk about great spears. Let's tab over real quick. I'll use Silurius Tree as an example. I think it's probably the most effective one. So, first thing I want to mention, tree spears do an insane amount of damage. You can't see the damage numbers, but we've got 800 on both. 800 DP, 800 attack, whatever you want to call it. And obviously these are pierce weapons. These are thrust weapons. So they're going to be really effective against bell-bearing hunters and ancient dragons, like I mentioned. But once again, you run into a similar problem with slow weapons where you kind of have to favor the jumping double slam. And this actually slams into the ground, so I think it deals more stagger damage. I'm not exactly positive, but you know. So you have the jumping double slam, but all of the attacks are going to be simultaneous. So honestly, if you can land a lot of attacks, then you'll be pretty good. And then the last thing to mention, obviously, is the running attack. That about the running attack, that's like 12 hits. Like, if you can keep the spear tip, like, inside of your enemy, then it'll deal damage as long as you're charging forward. And I think that's like, it's hard to explain, but just like imagine that. See, at the very end, that was the big attack, but then everything before that is just a little attack that continuously deals damage. So a little bit hard to understand. I will say Siluria's tree is probably the most effective because you can use it has a ranged attack, so you can like launch it like a super far distance. Yeah, you see, so you can really like charge it up at any distance. You can charge it up at any distance, and then once you're ready to go, you just let it rip, and then you're staggering the fuck out of the opponents. I think Siluria's Woe will actually knock enemies down, so you're gonna get even more benefit out of it. So yeah, that's great spears. Up next is normal spears. I think that normal spears are better than great spears because they're just faster. So the rolling attack and the running attack are going to be these really quick pokes. So you can already tell like how to play this weapon. All of the hits are like so quick. Like when I was fighting the double Crucible Knight fight, like I could do all three of these attacks before the Crucible Knight even like swung. And it's like, that's a little hard to I hope that makes sense. That's all I can say. I hope it makes sense. But really, like, these pokes are simultaneous. They happen at the same time. And they're so fast that, like, you can just tap and then wait and then tap and then wait and then just do that over and over again. And even the smallest window of opportunity, like, even if you have this tiny window, you can always land one poke. And if you land one poke after every attack, then you're still landing a lot of pokes. So it's like, that's the secret to spears, is just like hitting as often as you can. And because it's so fast, it's actually pretty easy to like hit really, really often. So that's kind of the strategy that I use, is just like just spam the attack as much as you can. You know, spam the rolling attack, spam the normal combo, whatever you need to do. Okay. Now, let's talk about colossal weapons. I'm going to use the Axe of Godfrey and Giza's Wheel as an example, but there are so many good colossal weapons that I kind of feel bad putting it at number 9. I'm glad it's in the top 10, but there's too many of these weapons. But this is the main thing that I always struggle with on the colossal weapons. This is the Regal Roar weapon art. Now, why would that be a difficult weapon art to use? It should be obvious, right? Because it's so fucking slow. It's so slow. It takes forever. And like I said before, when you're in New Game Plus, enemies are going to kill you in 3 hits. And surprise, surprise, an enemy can hit you twice during this attack. You have poise, so you're going to poise through their hit, but they're still going to take away half of your health. So you're still going to die trying to use that weapon art. And then guess what? Now it has special heavy attacks, but these heavy attacks are also insanely slow. They might deal a lot of stagger damage, but they're so slow. Like, you're gonna struggle a lot to land these hits, and like, especially against the bigger opponents. Like, really, your best bet is to use these really heavy weapons against like faster opponents. Like, I could honestly see someone using colossal weapons against Melania. Like, as long as you can, you know, if you use the Mimic Tier, then you and the Mimic Tier are going to be spamming these really stagger heavy attacks. And so what happens is, if the enemy is light enough, they can't do shit. They're literally just stuck. Like, they're just being staggered constantly. And so that's why this guy is so high. That's why he's number 9, is because he can still compete pretty well. And I'm really impressed with, you know, I really think FromSoft went above and beyond. And oh my god, you know, you don't just have Giza's Wheel, which deals standard damage. You also have weapons that deal strike damage. So we have the Inferno Crozier and the Giant Crusher. Both of these are strike weapons, which means that, once again, they're going to be really effective against Falling Star Beasts. And so, of course, you got to put Lion's Claw on it. There you go. So, and, you know, these guys have some cool heavy attacks, too, so I like it a lot. You get the idea. Like, if you can stagger an opponent, you're fine. But if you can't, then you're fucked. You're dead. And so that's the weakness of the colossal weapons. And that's why colossal swords are going to be higher on the list, because I think they're actually better, honestly. Anyway, that's all I got for you. So that's those three. So we're up to number 9 now. Now it becomes way more difficult. I'm going to put scythes down here. So the thing about scythes that I don't really... Well, I do actually like scythes a lot. I just don't think their moves are flashy enough. Like, a lot of the weapon arts for these weapons are just super flashy and over the top and just really fun to use. But, like, I don't know. What do you have? The winged scythe? Like, that weapon art is kind of lame. So there you go. Okay, what else do we got? We're getting close. We have 2 more for the A tier. So what are the last 2 weapons going to be in A tier? Oh, my gosh. I think it's going to be straight swords is going to be the next one. So straight swords is going to be number 7. And I guess that means that great swords is number 6. Huh. Let me think about that. Curved great swords are pretty good. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put curved great swords at number 6. Not in the top 5. I think a lot of people might scoff at that, but there's too many bleed weapons in the top 10, in the top 5. All right, most of these weapons are. I would either put curved greatswords or greatswords at the top. So I think I'm gonna put greatswords at number 5. So like, honestly, these 2 guys are interchangeable. I think curved greatswords and greatswords are very similar. Okay, so let's just finish it off. Let's do the last 4. So the top 4, we're gonna do heavy thrusting swords at number 4. No, we're going to do heavy thrusting swords at number 3. Okay? Number 3. Colossal swords at number 4. Twin blades at number 2. And, of course, katanas at number 1. Honestly, like, these 2 weapon classes, unless you're fighting, like, something that's really strong against slash damage or standard damage, like, you're going to be fine. Okay, here... If your enemy cannot bleed, then these 2 weapons are going to be dog shit. Okay, katanas, twin blades, curved greatswords. A lot of these weapons are going to be dog shit. So a lot of weapons suffer if the enemy can't bleed. But like, you can counter that pretty easily. I think especially with katanas, you don't really need to bleed an enemy. Like, you can still attack fast enough, and you can also proc cold, which is really cool. Okay, so let's get going. So we've got scythes and straight swords. Let's do these 3. 8. We'll do 6, 7, and 8. Scythes, straight swords, and curved great swords. Okay. And we are at 46 minutes, so we might be at an hour. We might finish this if we can speed run this. Okay. So let's speed run this. So I've got the list on the right. So that's the last time you're going to see the list until the end of the video. Now we're just doing weapons. I just want to talk about all the weapons and talk about what I like about them and what I don't like. Okay. So here's the winged scythe. The winged scythe plus the grave scythe combo. As you can see, something that I really love is when both weapons deal bleed damage. So we've got 55 blood loss on the winged scythe, and we've got 50 on the grave scythe. So what I've done is I've added cold to the grave scythe. So now we have 2 status elements that we're going to be proccing. So we'll get double the benefit, really. And scythes are a lot like halberds, where the normal combo is kind of dog shit. It's not really super useful. It's very slow. It deals heavy stagger damage, but like I've said a bunch of times, there are a lot of opponents that don't care about stagger, that will not get staggered, and if you try and stagger them, you're just going to get yourself killed. The thing that I do love about scythes is the weapon art for the winged scythe. I would like to mention the winged scythe will prevent healing. So if you're using it in PvP, if you use it on an opponent, then they can no longer use their healing item, which is really cool. And I also love the jumping attack, which is just going to deal an insane amount of damage, and you're going to bleed motherfuckers like crazy. You're just going to bleed them to death. So this is a perfect example of why bleed can struggle and why I like to put frost on it too. And I was planning on making a TikTok, but I will still make a TikTok, but I want to explain it for you right now. That if both weapons deal bleed damage, then it benefits you more to put cold on the secondary weapon. So if both weapons are going to stack that bleed, then you're just going to get double the stacking. And so then if you favor cold on one of your weapons, as you can see, that's 130 cold buildup. You know, it's 127, whatever. You're going to be proccing cold very, very often. And unless you're in the mountaintops of the giants, unless you're fighting a death bird, unless you're fighting opponents that are cold enemies, like, you're going to be fine. You know, you're going to get a lot of benefit off of having both bleed and cold on your build. Okay, so that's scythes. Up next, we go to the top of the list, and we talk about straight swords. I love straight swords. I love how fast they are. Obviously, everybody knows the Sword of Night and Flame. Just an incredible weapon. I think FromSoft really outdid themselves with that weapon. And then in the left hand, I've just got a blood-infused Lord Swarms straight sword. So this, you know, you could infuse it with bleed. You could infuse it with cold. I think either of them works. But you can only pick one. See, it doesn't have innate bleed, so you're going to have to pick either bleed or cold. But let's say you're fighting someone who has cold damage, then all you got to do is hope, just pray that they can bleed. And if they can't bleed, like if you're fighting a death bird, then maybe straight swords aren't the best pick. Like, that's kind of what you learn, is when you have every weapon class, you can be more you can be more strict with the weapons that you pick. Okay, we got to get moving. Sword of Night and Flame. I don't really need to talk about why I love it. Everybody knows why it's a good weapon. What I do love is the normal combo. I love the normal combo, and I love the jumping attack. So basically, you'll realize something. The normal combo starts exactly the same as the jumping attack. You'll see. First is an inward double slice, then is an outward double slice. So it's exactly the same move. The only difference is if you start with a jumping attack, the jumping attack deals more damage, and if somebody's blocking it, they won't be able to block the jump attack. So if you're using this first hit of the combo and you hit a shield, your sword will bounce off of it, so you'll get fucked. But if you can jump attack, then you'll be fine. So a little bit of a benefit in the end. But yeah, straight swords are just kind of boring. I mean, there's some cool weapons. I got the coated sword, which I think is really nice. It's cool. But yeah, a lot of these weapon arts, you know, very similar to other weapon arts. We've got Regalia of Aokade, or maybe Ohide. I don't know how you pronounce it. But as you can see, they're just classic weapon arts. They're just fun to use. Obviously, bigger opponents, you're going to struggle more, but you get the idea. Okay. So next up, I'm sure a lot of you guys know this weapon class very well. We've got curved greatswords, and I'm just going to use the Bloodhound's Fang for this example. So I'm going to pick Bloodhound's Fang, and then in the left hand, I've got a blood-infused Dismounter. And these guys are going to deal pretty absurd damage. Anybody who's used the Bloodhound's Fang, they know why it's strong. They know why it's so good. The weapon art is just absurd. You know, you have the first hit is an actual weapon hit, so it deals damage. But then you also back off a little bit, so you get a little bit of range, just a tiny amount of range. And then you can follow it up with the secondary attack, which is just brutal. So there you go. And then, of course, it's a greatsword, so it's going to have that slam moveset. Very nice. But once again, greatswords are going to be pretty slow, and they're not going to hit very often. So you kind of have to play an interesting game with these weapons. That's all I can say. That's all I got. So that's curved greatswords. There are some really cool weapons too. You got Zamor Ice Storm. I don't think I've ever seen this spell. Yeah, pretty basic. I don't think it has a follow-up. No, so all that does is do a little bit of cold, so it's kind of nice. Obviously, you guys know Morgoth's. Morgoth's is just sexy. It's just wonderful. Okay, there you go. So we're running out of time, so I'm trying to speedrun this. I want to keep it close to an hour, just because I'm doing a really poor job. Greatswords. There are so many greatswords. I'll just pick two of them. Now I actually use the iron greatsword in the left hand with a blood infusion. But like, there are just so many greatswords that like you could only use greatswords for the rest of the game, and you would be fine against every opponent in the game because you have a blood greatsword, you have a frost greatsword, you have another frost. The Marais is gonna just stagger the hell out of everybody. Like, so many of these weapons just deal absurd amounts of damage, and you know that's why greatswords deserve to be in the top 5 and not curved greatswords, because there's way more normal greatswords than there are curved greatswords, and so in the end you get more variety, which in the end is more fun for me. Like, if you can only use greatswords for like half the game, that's pretty cool to me. That's about all I got for you. So that's greatswords, kind of basic. The combo is the same as curved greatswords, so it's pretty slow. You're gonna favor the jumping attack, right? That's usually the strategy with those slower weapons, but you know, you get the idea. God, this is a long freaking video. Okay, ultra greatswords or colossal swords. These guys are super slow, super slow, but the jumping slam is gonna just obliterate enemies. And I'm gonna use the Godslayer as an example because I've done some testing, a little bit of testing, especially on Dragon Lord Placidusax, and I think, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the Godslayer Greatsword weapon art is like the single strongest move in the entire game. Like, if you can land both of those hits, you're going to be dealing like thousands of damage in an instant. And so if you're fighting Placidusax, you just spam that move till you die. Like, you just spam it and that's it. And then you'll be home free. And even if you get hit, I think you can roll out of one of the attacks, if I remember right. Yeah, you can roll out of it. So that's kind of cool, but you know, you get the idea. That's about all I got. A lot of the colossal swords are going to be really hard to use against bosses. Like, if we tried Malekith's, this attack takes so long to trigger that like the boss is going to obliterate you in 5 seconds, but it's just so cool. Like, it's so cool. These weapons are just they're so cool. And then you have like Blythe's weapon, and that deals frost damage. So it's just comical, dude. It's just so awesome. And look at that. Blythe's weapon deals 1,000 damage, exactly 1,000 damage. Let's get rid of that. You can see over on the right, look at that damage output. That is just comical. Like, do you ever think, and this is unbuffed, no buffs, I'm getting 1,000 damage flat. Like, bro, oh my God. Okay. What time is it? 56? Okay. Colossal swords, we've got heavy thrusting swords next. Okay. I've definitely learned to love these guys later. Like, much later on, I've discovered what I love about them. So my strategy is I either use Bloody Helus or I use Dragon King's Cragblade. I love Bloody Helus, and I'll just explain why. In the left hand, obviously, I've got the Godskin Stitcher with blood infusion. I just want to show you the Bloody Helus. So the Bloody Helus weapon art starts with a retreat, and this retreat has an absurd amount of iframes. So like, you can just spam this, and it's basically Bloodhound Step but cooler. It's Bloodhound Step, but then you can follow it up with like a heavy damage dealing attack. So watch this. So we dodge as many times as we want, and then we follow it up with a lunge. Like, we just lunge forward, we do a straight hit, lightning quick, and then you can follow it up with 2 more hits. So like, you can see how you already know how to use this weapon. It tells you exactly how to use it. All right, you're fighting Morgoth. All you gotta do, back off again, and then blast them. Just blast them for a zillion. And then if you're using, I also love heavy thrusting swords because they actually have a slam when you do the jump attack. So like, you're gonna get more stagger out of that than you would any other attack, and like, because it's heavier, it's going to deal more thrust. It's going to deal more stagger damage, so that's a good thing also. But yeah, you get the idea. I'll show you the Cragblade as well. Super sexy. You can charge this up, and I think it gives you more range. Yeah, so if you just let it rip real short, then the range is really short, but you charge it up, and you'll just fly. You'll literally fly through the air. Do you see how cool that is? Like, that's why these guys are number 3. Like, honestly, one of the coolest weapons in the game. These are probably... I'm happy with my top 3 right now. So let's talk about the last 2 weapons. We got 2 minutes left. We might go a little bit over. So let's do twin blades and katanas, and then that's it, folks. That's the whole video. That was literally an hour-long video talking about every weapon, but that's what you get. You know, I don't make short videos when I make them like this. I can't make it short, and that's why I'm going to do a TikTok with all these. So the twin blades, the normal combo is pretty nice. Let's see. The rolling attack is going to be kind of nice. Oh, so watch this. The rolling attack is a simultaneous attack. So both attacks happen really... They attack... What am I trying to say? They happen in short succession, okay? So if you can land the first hit, then you're probably going to land the second hit. But really... There's only one move that you use with the twin blades, and that's the jump attack. So you jump, wait till the very end, and then that's 4 hits all at once. You see? 2, 4. That's it. And so if you have bleed on both weapons, that's instant bleed. Literally instant bleed. And then if you're using Eleonora's pole blade, and you use the weapon art, you're going to bleed people so to a ridiculous degree. And not only that, but the pole blade weapon art deals absurd stagger damage, and it's really good about like just moving around an opponent. So like I use it a lot against Crucible Knights, and you can actually like stagger the fuck out of Crucible Knights. It's really, really satisfying to use. So yeah, but once again, if your opponent is strong against bleed or is literally immune to bleed, like let's say you're fighting the Elden Beast, this is going to be a terrible pairing against the Elden Beast. So obviously, this is what I want you to realize. Even though twin blades are like so absurdly god tier, if you're fighting someone that doesn't bleed, all of a sudden these weapons become worthless. They become absolutely dog shit. And then that's when you use the weapons that are at the bottom of the list, right? That's when you use a strike weapon, or that's when you use a pierce weapon. Because if an enemy doesn't bleed, then chances are they're going to be weak to a different type of damage. And so the game is trying to... It's almost like the game is designed in such a way, and it should be obvious to everyone. It's designed in such a way so that your build is always bad against one class of enemy, or a couple classes of enemy. So let's say you're a mage. Who are you weakest against? You're going to be weakest against the Glintstone Dragons. And that's when you use bleed. And you're going to bleed the fuck out of all those Glintstone Dragons. So then it becomes less stressful. And so you see how you don't need every weapon class, but you should try and pick like 3. I would say 2 is a little bit risky, but you'll be fine with 3 weapon classes. If you can get a decent amount of weapons from 3 unique classes, like, you know, we'll talk about it in a second anyway. We've got one last class, so let's just get this over with. Obviously, I'm going to use Rivers of Blood as the example because it's just god tier. Like, Rivers of Blood is by far like the single best weapon in the game. That is, unless they don't bleed. And then now you see how this is how Dark Souls works. This is how Elden Ring works. Your weapon, your build is going to be good against 85 to 90% of the content in the game. But it's that last 10 to 15% that's really going to shit on you. And it's going to make you want to quit the game because your build is so horrible against those classes of enemies. And that's like, I wanted to do a tier list so I could really show you guys like, okay, you know, pick a strike weapon, pick a pierce weapon, and then pick a standard weapon, and then use katanas, okay? So that you'll be fine. If your katana doesn't do good, then you'll be fine. Okay, so let's talk about Rivers of Blood. You guys have obviously seen the weapon art. It is so absurd. It is so fast. It deals so much damage. It has such an absurd range that like it has almost no flaws. And then you follow it up with the jumping attack being simultaneous and the rolling attack being simultaneous. And you know, even the normal combo is going to be pretty quick. And if you're using the Naga Kiba, you get that bonus range. And because both of these weapons deal blood damage, I've put cold on the Naga Kiba. So not only am I proccing bleed, but I'm also proccing cold. So in the end, I might still find some good use out of it. So like, really, it's like, I hope this is helpful to you guys. I hope this is helpful to show you the weaknesses within every weapon class, that even the best weapons have their flaws, and really the only way to counter those flaws is to use a different weapon class or play a little bit differently. And that's kind of like the secret to this game, is like, don't pigeonhole yourself to using only one weapon class. Okay? Pick one class that you love, and then pick 2 more classes that you kind of like, but they're different in some way. Like, if you have a magic weapon, then pick a weapon that only deals physical damage. Or if you have a bleed weapon, then pick a weapon that deals magic damage. Because then if you run into an opponent that is immune to your weapon, or it has a lot of strengths against your weapon, then you just swap classes, and then all of a sudden it becomes a cakewalk again. And that's kind of what this game is teaching you, is like, you should use as many weapons as you can, because in the end, the more weapons that you use, the better off you're going to be, because you can pick weapons that are really strong against specific classes. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do, A tier, and finally S tier. Okay, so there you go. So this is the final tier list. You know, this is, maybe I'll do a screenshot, maybe I won't. It's an hour and 4, so we've been going too long. So this is my final tier list. We'll do the top 5 weapons. Number 1, katanas. Number 2, twin blades, but like I said, they have huge weaknesses. Number 3, heavy thrusting swords. Once again, also a bleed weapon, so you're going to run into some problems. But that's why number 4 and number 5 are great swords and colossal swords, because great swords and colossal swords usually don't deal bleed damage. Okay, so if an opponent is strong against bleed, using a greatsword or using a colossal sword will benefit you in the end. So like if I'm fighting Placidusax, I always use the Godslayer greatsword, because I know that the weapon art for that will deal enough damage to actually like power through all of his defenses. And so that's kind of like what I'm getting at, is, you know, pick a variety. Okay, that's, you know, we're done, folks. That's all I got for you for today. That was an hour and 5 minutes. So I hope you enjoyed. If you stuck around till the end, I really appreciate you. You know, I don't know how well this video is going to do, but, you know, I'm glad that I did that. I'm glad that I did it live. That was literally an hour straight of me just talking, so I'm glad to take a break. And I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys can pick a weapon class that you like. I hope there was some valuable information for you. And yeah, if you came here from TikTok, don't worry. If you watched to the end of this video, thank you, first of all, but I am going to be uploading these as TikToks. And I think I'm probably only going to do 3 weapons at a time. And then I think I'll be good. So, yeah. So we've got a couple things. I'm finishing up the last of the weapon TikToks. After that, I'm going to do a little announcement video. After that, we're going to do spells. And then after spells is when we're going to do the tier list for all these weapons. So I wanted to put this video out now, so that I could say that I was the first one to rank all the weapons. And I wasn't the first one, but I hope this is valuable, and I hope that people realize that I use every weapon class because I want to use every weapon class. And so my opinions on these weapons may not be accurate to you, but I hope that those opinions were still valuable nonetheless, because I think my goal is to just express, you know, why I love this and why I don't love this. And so, you know, appreciate ya. Thank you for stopping by. This has been a long video, but, you know, appreciate you watching it. Take care. Bye-bye.